The world often tells stories of heroes who start strong, but this isn't one of them. This is the story of Alex, a name that could belong to anyone, but whose journey was truly special. When we first meet Alex, life wasn't a grand adventure. It was a dark, tangled mess. Imagine standing at the very bottom of a deep, shadowy pit, with no ladder and no light. That's exactly how Alex felt. Every morning felt heavy, like wearing shoes made of lead. Hope was a word whispered by others, a feeling that had completely left Alex's heart. Alex was young, too young to carry such a heavy burden, but the weight of troubles had pushed them down, down, down. It wasn't just one big problem. It was a pile of small, sharp difficulties that stacked up until they felt like a mountain. Friends seemed to fade away. School became a blur of confusion, and even the simple joy of a sunny day felt distant and unreachable. Alex truly believed there was no way out, no path forward, only the hard, cold ground of rock bottom. This feeling of being utterly lost and alone was the start of Alex's untold story of amazing strength. The heavy feeling that weighed Alex down wasn't new. It had roots stretching far back into childhood. Even before reaching rock bottom, life had thrown big, hard rocks in Alex's path. One of the biggest was losing a parrot much too soon. It was like a giant piece of Alex's world had simply vanished, leaving an empty, cold space that nothing seemed to fill. This loss made everything else feel wobbly and uncertain. It was hard to smile, hard to laugh, and even harder to focus. School, which, for many kids is a place of learning and fun, became another struggle. The words on the page would swim, numbers would dance confusingly, and listening to the teacher felt like trying to hear whispers in a loud wind. Alex tried, truly tried, but the sadness and confusion from home often made it impossible to keep up. Other kids seemed to understand things easily, but for Alex, every lesson was a fight. Report cards brought frowns, and the quiet talks with teachers only made Alex feel more alone and like a failure. These early tough times built the foundation for the deep pit Alex later found themselves in, making the path to hope seem even steeper. With a heart heavy from loss and a mind swirling with school troubles, Alex felt more and more alone. It was like standing in a dark room, bumping into things, wishing for a light switch. In this confusing time, Alex made a big mistake, a choice that seemed small at first but grew into a giant shadow. Trying to fit in, trying to feel important, Alex started hanging out with the wrong crowd. They promised fun, excitement, and a way to forget all the sadness. But these new friends led Alex down a path that was not good. One night, a dare turned into something much worse. Alex made a very poor choice, one that broke rules and hurt someone else. It wasn't meant to be mean, but it had bad results. The police got involved, and suddenly, Alex wasn't just sad and struggling. Alex was in real trouble. This one bad choice felt like the final push into the deep pit. It brought shame, anger from family, and a label that felt impossible to shake off. The feeling of hopelessness, which had been a whisper before, now screamed loudly in Alex's ears. It seemed like there was no way back, no way to fix what was broken, and no light left anywhere. The darkness that had swallowed Alex felt endless after the big mistake, but even in the deepest night, a tiny star can sometimes be seen. This spark didn't come from anywhere outside. It came from deep inside Alex. One quiet afternoon, sitting alone in a small room, feeling the heavy weight of regret, Alex looked at their reflection. The person staring back looked tired, sad, and broken. A silent question formed in Alex's mind. Is this really all there is? It was a small thought, but it was powerful. For the first time in a long time, Alex felt a flicker, a tiny pushback against the tide of sadness. It wasn't a big, brave roar. It was more like a quiet whisper of anger, mixed with a tiny bit of hope. Alex was tired of feeling bad, tired of the shame, and tired of being stuck. It was a clear, sudden knowing that things absolutely, positively had to change. This wasn't a wish, it was a decision to try, even when every part of Alex felt too weak to move. It was the moment the climb from rock bottom truly began, with a single, fragile spark of courage in the overwhelming darkness. That small spark of decision in Alex's heart needed fuel to grow, a reason to push forward. It wasn't easy to find. Days blurred, but Alex started taking long walks, mostly to escape the four walls that felt like they were closing in. One sunny afternoon, instead of turning toward town, Alex wandered onto a small path leading into some low hills. The air smelled fresh, like pine needles and damp earth, completely different from the stale air Alex was used to. As Alex walked, the sounds of cars faded, replaced by birds singing and leaves rustling. With each step up the gentle slope, a little bit of the heavy feeling seemed to lift. The small stones underfoot, the sunlight filtering through the trees, the wide-open sky above. It was all new, all calming. Alex reached a small peak and looked out over the world. It wasn't a huge mountain, but from that spot, everything looked clearer, smaller, less scary. For the first time in ages, Alex felt a flicker of peace, a quiet joy. This feeling of being in nature, of moving one foot in front of the other, began to grow into something more. It wasn't just walking, it was hiking. It was a discovery, a new passion. And suddenly, Alex had a tiny, but powerful, reason to keep going, to find more of that peace on the paths less traveled. With the calming whispers of the forest paths now a part of Alex's routine, the spark of hope grew a little stronger. It wasn't enough to just walk. Alex knew real changes were needed in daily life. Taking a deep breath, Alex started looking for a job. It was hard. Many places didn't want to hire someone with Alex's past mistakes. But Alex didn't give up. After many tries, a small coffee shop gave Alex a chance. It wasn't fancy work, but it was honest work. Each cup poured, each floor swept, felt like a small victory. A step away from the shadows. Working gave Alex a routine, a little money, and a sense of purpose. But Alex also knew that the sadness and bad feelings sometimes crept back. So with a mix of fear and bravery, Alex found a local support group. Walking into that room for the first time was scary, but seeing other people who had faced tough times made Alex feel a little less alone. Sharing stories, listening to others, and getting advice felt like building a bridge out of the deep pit. These were small steps, not big leaps, but each one showed a strong effort, a true desire to recover and build a better life. Even with a new job in the support group, Alex's path wasn't always smooth. Recovery isn't a straight line. It has its own bumps and turns. There were days when the old sadness tried to creep back in, whispering doubts in Alex's ear. Sometimes, a customer at the coffee shop would be rude, or a memory of the past mistake would hit hard, making Alex want to hide. It felt like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. One evening, after a particularly tough shift and a difficult conversation in the support group, Alex felt like giving up. The thought of going back to the old, easy, but bad ways was tempting. Why was it so hard to be good? Why did it feel like the past would never truly leave? But then, Alex remembered the feeling of peace on the hiking trail, the small victories at work, and the kind words from others in the group. It was in these hard moments that Alex learned a very important lesson: keep trying. It didn't mean not feeling sad or frustrated, but it meant not letting those feelings win. It meant picking up the broom again, or speaking up in the group, or just putting on hiking shoes. Each time Alex pushed through the doubt, the inner strength grew a little bit more, like a muscle getting stronger with every challenge. Alex's journey of pushing through hard times was made even stronger by a new person who stepped into their life. This wasn't someone from the past, but a kind, older woman named Ms. Elena, who often came into the coffee shop. She had a warm smile and eyes that seemed to see right into Alex's heart, not judging but understanding. Ms. Elena noticed Alex's quiet effort, the way they worked hard even on tough days. One afternoon, after Alex had finished sweeping, Ms. Elena stayed behind. She talked about her own life, about how everyone makes mistakes, and how the most important thing is to keep trying. She saw a spark in Alex that Alex sometimes couldn't see in themselves. Ms. Elena started inviting Alex for walks in the park, not just on hiking trails, and listened patiently to Alex's worries and hopes. She helped Alex see that the past didn't have to define the future. "You have so much strength inside you, Alex," she'd say, "more than you know." Her belief was like a warm blanket on a cold day. It made Alex feel seen, valued, and capable of even bigger things. Ms. Elena became more than a customer. She became a true friend and a wise guide, showing Alex that it's okay to lean on others sometimes. With Ms. Elena's gentle encouragement and Alex's growing inner strength, the small hikes turned into bigger ones. Alex explored higher hills, longer trails, and felt a deep connection to the quiet power of the mountains. One evening, while looking at a picture book about famous climbs, Alex stopped on a photo of Mount Everest. Its towering peak, covered in snow and ice, looked impossible, dangerous, and utterly breathtaking. A crazy thought sparked in Alex's mind. It was a huge, scary thought, a goal so big it felt like a dream. Climb Mount Everest. Alex almost laughed at the idea. Just a few years ago, getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. Now, this? But the more Alex looked at the picture, the more the idea took root. Everest wasn't just a mountain, it was a symbol. It was the highest point on Earth, a place of extreme challenge, a place where only the strongest could stand. For Alex, it would be a way to show that rock bottom was truly behind them, a way to prove that the person who made big mistakes was now strong enough to conquer the world's biggest peak. It was a scary, thrilling goal, but it felt right. It was a testament to Alex's new strength, a promise to themselves that anything was possible. Deciding to climb Everest was one thing, actually getting ready for it was another. It wasn't just about strong legs, it was about a strong mind and body working together. Alex knew this would be the hardest thing ever. The training began slowly, but soon it took over Alex's life. Mornings started with long runs, often before the sun was fully awake. After working at the coffee shop, evenings were spent at the gym, lifting weights and climbing endless stairs with a heavy backpack. Weekends were for even bigger challenges. Alex would find the steepest hills, putting on heavy boots and carrying gear, just like real mountaineers. The weather didn't matter. Rain or shine, Alex was out there, pushing further, higher. There were days when muscles screamed, lungs burned, and every step felt like a battle. Sometimes, the cold wind would bite, or the path would be slippery and dangerous. Doubts would whisper again, asking if this was truly possible for someone who had once felt so weak. But Alex remembered the promise made to themselves. Each bead of sweat, each aching muscle, each time Alex chose to keep going instead of giving up, was a step closer to Everest. This wasn't just about physical strength. It was about building a spirit that could face anything, no matter how tough. After months of relentless training, the day finally arrived. Alex packed up all the special gear and set off for Nepal, the land of giant peaks. The journey to Everest Base Camp was a long trek, not just a quick flight. Each day, Alex walked through small villages, past prayer flags fluttering in the wind, and over rocky trails. The air grew thinner, with every step higher, making it harder to breathe, a constant reminder of the extreme challenge ahead. But with the difficulty came amazing beauty. Huge, jagged mountains, capped with sparkling white snow, rose into the blue sky like giants. The silence was broken only by the crunch of boots and the occasional jingle of yak bells. It was a world unlike anything Alex had ever seen, vast and awe-inspiring. Yet, the mountain also showed its dangerous side. Alex saw memorials for climbers who didn't make it back, silent warnings that Everest was powerful and unforgiving. Huge cliffs of ice, deep cracks in glaciers, and the sheer size of the peaks reminded Alex that this was no ordinary hike. It was a place of both stunning wonder and deadly peril, a true test of strength and courage. Reaching base camp, a colorful tent city nestled at the foot of the giant, felt like arriving at the edge of the known world. The real climb was about to begin. Beyond base camp, the true test of Everest began. Each step higher brought new and terrifying challenges. The air grew so thin it felt like trying to breathe through a tiny straw. Every movement took huge effort. Alex had to cross deep, icy crevasses on wobbly ladders, a scary dance over empty space. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, pushing and pulling, trying to knock Alex off balance. Then came the bad weather. A sudden storm trapped Alex and the team in a small tent for days. With snow piling up outside and the cold seeping into their bones, fear gnawed at Alex, a cold, sharp feeling that was far worse than the cold outside. What if they couldn't move forward? What if they got stuck forever? Worst of all was the constant tiredness. It was a tiredness that went beyond muscles, sinking deep into the spirit. Every morning, getting out of the warm sleeping bag felt like an impossible task. Doubt, the old enemy, tried to sneak back in, whispering, "You can't do this. Go back." But Alex had faced darkness before. This was a different kind of rock bottom, one made of ice and thin air, but the lessons learned long ago about keeping on going, even when it hurt, were the real tools in Alex's backpack now. High on the icy slopes of Everest, with every breath a struggle and every muscle screaming, Alex felt a familiar wave of despair threaten to wash over them. It was the same feeling that had once held Alex captive at rock bottom, a heavy blanket of hopelessness. The cold was biting, the air thin, and the summit seemed impossibly far away, but then a different kind of strength began to rise from deep inside. Alex closed their eyes for just a moment, not to rest, but to remember. They thought of the empty chair at the dinner table after losing a parent. They remembered the sting of bad report cards and the quiet shame of school struggles. The echo of that big mistake, the feeling of being truly alone in the world, came back. But then, Alex also remembered the small spark that ignited the change, the peace found on those first hikes, the quiet victories at the coffee shop, the warmth of Ms. Elena's belief. All those past battles, all those times Alex chose to keep going when it felt impossible, weren't just memories. They were fuel. Each past struggle had built a tiny piece of the strong person standing on this mountain now. Alex opened their eyes, a fierce resolve burning. If they could climb out of that deep, dark pit of despair, they could surely climb this mountain. The final push to the summit was the hardest thing Alex had ever done. Every single step was a fight against the thin air, the biting cold, and a body screaming for rest. But with each slow, careful movement, Alex kept remembering all the struggles, all the small victories, all the kind faces of those who believed. The sun was just beginning to paint the sky with soft colors as Alex took the very last step. And then, there it was, the top, the highest point on Earth. Alex stood on the summit of Mount Everest. The world stretched out below, an endless sea of clouds and mountain peaks. It was quiet, so incredibly quiet, with only the sound of Alex's own breathing, heavy, but steady. A wave of feelings washed over Alex, joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of peace. There were no more whispers of doubt, no more shadows of the past. Only the clear, crisp air, and the incredible feeling of being utterly, completely strong. Alex raised an ice axe, a symbol of the long, hard climb, not just up this mountain, but from the lowest point of life. Tears, frozen almost instantly by the cold, welled in Alex's eyes. This wasn't just a mountain conquered. It was a life reclaimed, a promise kept, and a testament to the power of a spirit that refused to break. Coming down from Everest was almost as hard as going up, but Alex carried a new kind of lightness, a peace that had been missing for so long. Life after the mountain was different, not just because Alex was now an Everest climber, but because Alex knew deep down that true strength comes from within. The world wanted to hear Alex's story, and Alex, once so shy and ashamed, now spoke with a clear, strong voice. Alex started visiting schools, community centers, and even places where young people were struggling just like Alex once did. They shared the story of losing a parent, of school troubles, of making a big mistake, and of feeling completely lost. But more importantly, Alex shared the story of finding a spark, of hiking, of getting a job, of joining a group, and of a kind mentor. Alex told them that rock bottom isn't the end, it can be the starting point for something amazing. You have your own Everest to climb, Alex would say. Whether it's getting good grades, finding a job, or just believing in yourself again, every small step matters. Alex helped others see that their past doesn't have to define their future, and that with courage and help, they too could find their own way to the top. Alex's journey, from the deepest pits of despair to the highest peak on Earth, holds a powerful truth for everyone. It shows that even when life feels completely broken, and you feel like you've hit the very bottom, there's a hidden strength inside you. This strength might be just a tiny spark at first, a quiet whisper of, "I can try." But with each small step, each time you choose to keep going when it's hard, that spark grows brighter. The lesson from Alex's untold story isn't just about climbing a mountain. It's about climbing out of any hard place. It's about learning that bad choices don't have to be the end of your story. It's about finding something you love, asking for help when you need it, and believing in yourself, even when no one else does. Alex proved that the challenges we face, the mistakes we make, and the sadness we feel can actually make us stronger, wiser, and more determined. So, no matter what big mountain you might be facing in your own life, remember, Alex, remember that you have the power to find your inner strength, take those first small steps, and reach your own amazing goals. Your story of resilience is waiting to be written.